Hello, good evening. Welcome to North West Tonight, Wednesday evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Roger Johnson. Here's our top story. An attempted murder retrial for baby killer Lucy Letby begins. It's told that she tried to murder baby Kay 2 hours after she was born. The former nurse denies trying to kill the child at the Countess of Chester Hospital in 2016. Also tonight, back home, a man stranded in Turkey after the Home Office blocked his return. Now they admit they got it wrong. Harvesting votes. What do the region's farmers want from the next government?
Clarity to start off with. There's been a lot of words so far, but not a lot of substance.
Eric is still a red after weeks of uncertainty. Manchester United confirmed that Ten Hag is staying on.
I'm not happy at all. I don't think he's very good.
I've always wanted him to stay. I think he's the right man for the job.
And today we've seen a mix of cloudy conditions and beautiful blue skies. But what's in store tomorrow? I'll have all the details at the end of the programme.
Lucy Letby tried to murder a baby less than 2 hours after she was born. That's what the start of her retrial was told today. The former Countess of Chester Hospital nurse is facing one charge of attempted murder, having already been convicted of killing 7 infants and the attempted murder of 6 others. The jury was told today that those convictions should be seen as key evidence. Well, Andy Gills at Manchester Crown Court, he was listening to the opening exchanges today. And Andy, the prosecution opened its case. What was said?
Well, Roger, Lucy Letby's facing one allegation that the jury in her original trial could not decide on, that she attempted to murder a very premature baby girl known as baby Kay. For legal reasons, we can't identify the alleged victim in this case. Nick Johnson KC, who's leading the prosecution, told the jury that after a long trial last year, Lucy Letby was, as you said, convicted of murdering 7 babies at the Countess of Chester Hospital and convicted of attempting to murder 6 others. Mr. Johnson said on its own that's not enough to convict Lucy Letby in this case. But he went on to say, in a nutshell, we say that her status as a multiple murderer and attempted murderer is an important piece of evidence that you, the jury, should take into account when considering whether we, the prosecution, have made you sure that Miss Letby was trying to kill baby Kay. The details of this allegation are that Lucy Letby allegedly dislodged baby Kay's breathing tube and that a consultant, Dr. Ravi Jayaram, found Lucy Letby standing next to the incubator doing nothing as the baby's blood oxygen levels fell.
Andy, Lucy Letby's defence team also made its opening statement. What was said there?
Yes, this was from Ben Myers KC, who's defending Lucy Letby. He said a combination of sympathy for the alleged victim's family and anger over the convictions created a danger that Lucy Letby would not get a fair trial in this case. And he asked the jury to focus on what he said were 3 key areas: the fragility of baby Kay's health, the fact that she did have problems with her breathing tube, and also whether what people said back in 2016 matches what the prosecutions say now. And he said the evidence of Dr. Jayaram is crucial here. He said that if what he says is not true or accurate, there's no basis for the conviction of Lucy Letby in this case. Now, 3 days after she was born, baby Kay died at another hospital. There's no suggestion that Lucy Letby was responsible for that death. Lucy Letby denies the single charge of attempted murder in this case, and this trial is expected to last for several weeks.
Andy, thank you. Andy Gill there. Now, Chesterman has been talking today about his relief after finally being reunited with his family after more than a year stranded in Turkey. Siyabonga Twala was told that he couldn't come back because of a previous criminal conviction, even though he had lived in Chester since he was a child. We spoke to him on the programme last year. Well, now the Home Office has backtracked, but won't say why they've changed their mind. As Phil McCann reports.
You've gone so big.
Seeing his son Mason on British soil, something Siyabonga Twala thought he might never be able to do again. The same goes for walking around the streets in Chester, the city where he's lived since his parents moved from South Africa when he was 15.
To be honest, I thought that was it. You know, like maybe I might not be able to see my family again, might not be able to see my son again, you know.
It was this family holiday to South Africa that began Siyabonga's nightmare 18 months ago. He'd taken Mason to show him where he grew up. But on a connecting flight in Istanbul, he was stopped from re-entering the UK. A government minister at the time had decided he should be excluded from the country. It was because he was jailed for possessing cannabis with intent to supply 6 years ago. He had settled status, but wasn't a British citizen.
Made me really angry, you know, because my life, you know, I lost absolutely everything, you know, and I was really proud of the life I had before that.
An exclusion decision is made for serious international crime. It's generally it pose a severe and imminent risk to the UK. For someone in his situation, that is absolutely not the case.
So this is where I'm staying right now. It's just a small hotel in Turkey. And
Siyabonga spoke to North West Tonight last year from the hotel room in Turkey where he was living at the time. He's had to move from room to room, but can't speak Turkish and says he couldn't work, so he relied on money from his family and from well-wishers who'd heard about his case.
We were just going day by day, saying that, you know, let's do what we have to do.
And this was the only way Siyabonga could see Mason. His son had to travel over 2,000 miles.
No one can have a relationship with a child over the phone. It just doesn't work. You know, you can be creative you can be as creative as you want to be.
But then last week, news from London. Just before a hearing was due to take place, Siyabonga's lawyers say they got an email saying a government minister had decided he should no longer be excluded. They say they had no further detail, and the Home Office told us it doesn't comment on individual cases.
Yesterday we played football, you know, literally just had like me and him, he beat me of course, because he's faster than me now.
Siyabonga's living back with his parents. He had a house and a job before he got stuck in Turkey. Now he wants to rebuild his life, but also wants to raise awareness of other legal immigrants who he says are facing similar fights and haven't yet been able to do this with their children. Phil McCann, BBC North West Tonight, Chester.
Now we'll take a trip down memory lane on the 60th anniversary of Vauxhall's Ellesmere Port factory shortly. You won't believe how much the first car cost. But first, signs of modern slavery have been found at the Lake District Hotel. The owners of the 4-star Fisherbeck Hotel in Ambleside have been fined £10,000 for employing illegal workers. A part-time cleaner told Home Office officials that her only pay was leftover food. A woman who kept more than 100 pet rats in dirty conditions at her house in Leyland has received a suspended jail sentence. 31-year-old Sarah Jordan was sentenced to 4 weeks, suspended for 18 months, and banned from keeping animals, apart from cats, for 15 years. Competition winners today got to test the new tram line from Blackpool North Railway Station to the seafront. It's the first time in 60 years that the station has been connected to the tram system. The £23 million extension opens to everyone else on Sunday. 22 days to go till polling day in the general election. Annabelle's got the latest from the campaign for us, as always, tonight, focusing tonight on rural issues.
Yes, we'll be looking at that in a moment. But first, a Times investigation has found that at least 41 Reform UK candidates standing in the general election are friends on Facebook with Gary Rakes, leader of the fascist party, the New British Union. We've checked through our candidates in the North West and found that 9 of those are from the North West. Now, the New British Union sees parliamentary democracy as an obstruction and wants to replace it with a fascist dictatorship. We've contacted Reform and they say we take all allegations very seriously and will take appropriate action after a thorough internal investigation. Now, Labour's parliamentary candidate for Liverpool Riverside, Kim Johnson, has accused Keir Starmer of breaking a promise to never write for the Sun newspaper. This week, the newspaper's homepage hosted a full-site article featuring Starmer's face, urging readers to vote for change. The Sun is still boycotted in much of Merseyside for its false reporting on the 1989 Hillsborough Stadium disaster. Kim Johnson said when Keir Starmer sought support to be Labour leader, he pledged he would not write in the Sun. And now she says the whole city is disappointed that he's broken that promise. Now, the general election may well be the most crucial in half a generation for farmers in the North West. Their union, the NFU, says they've been facing particular pressures recently, and they're calling on all parties to provide more clarity on how politicians plan to help them. Our environment correspondent, Judy Hobson, reports.
It's a challenging time for British farmers as they undergo some of the biggest changes in 50 years. Financial pressures have increased due to controversial trade deals and the loss of subsidies since Brexit. Add to that rising fuel and fertiliser costs, higher interest rates and poor weather. The dairy industry has been hit with volatile milk prices. Richard Blackburn has 400 cows on his farm in Nantwich. So what would he like to hear from politicians?
Clarity to start off with. There's been a lot of words so far, but not a lot of substance. A national food strategy would be one of our key asks. We're about 60% self-sufficient, so we can't allow that to go any lower.
According to a recent survey by the National Farmers Union, a quarter of dairy farmers are considering leaving the industry.
We've lost about 75% of dairy producers over the last 30 years. And it's a tough game. One of the biggest reasons farmers pack in is succession. Our children don't really want to go into it. I'm very lucky that my son is here on the farm with me, and that's something I'm very proud of.
The National Farmers Union wants a new government to further support farming businesses hit by some of the most challenging weather conditions in living memory.
This year, it never stopped raining from July till about a few weeks ago, really.
On Ollie Harrison's farm in Prescott, every crop has been damaged.
This is a field of winter barley. It should all look like that. It's affected 100% of the farm. We haven't got one field that's completely perfect this year at all.
So what would he like a new government to do for farming?
Give us a bit of stability, realise that we've got these ups and downs from the weather and no other business has to cope with that. Have some security going forwards for 3, 4, 5 years so we know that it's worth the investment in the crop. We want them to recognise the importance of producing food in Britain, because if we can produce it in Britain, we don't have to import it.
Farmers are asking for a fair price for their food. To make the point, Ollie Harrison has baked this enormous loaf of bread. He'd be paid £350 for the wheat, but he says customers would be charged almost £5,000 to buy it in a supermarket. Although here he's used wheat destined for animal feed.
So it's just to highlight the difference between when it leaves a farm to what the retail value is when the customer buys it.
In their manifestos, the Liberal Democrats have promised an extra £1 billion for sustainable farming and an ability to trade with Europe. The Conservatives say they will increase the UK farming budget by £1 billion over the Parliament and increase grants. Labour has yet to release its manifesto, but has said it would reduce the country's reliance on imported food and improve post-Brexit payments.
We don't want handouts. We just want to know that if we've got a bad year, we're not going to go out of business. Because if we all went out of business, what would be left?
Come on out. We're so proud to produce our nation's food. The quality of that food is second to none. We're world leaders in that. So if we can carry on doing that, but it needs to be sustainable.
Farmers want the new government to make agriculture a priority, or they believe many more will leave the industry. Judy Hobson, BBC North West Tonight.
Now, so far, we've had manifestos from the Liberal Democrats and the Conservatives. Today, the Green Party launched theirs with a pledge to raise taxes on top earners. National insurance would rise to 8% on wages above £50,270. They claim the plans will generate $70 billion a year to mend what they call broken Britain. The party also pledged to stop all new fossil fuel projects in the UK. And tomorrow, Roger, Labour launches their manifesto.
Annabelle, thank you very much. I'm sure we'll round it all up tomorrow night. Now, 60 years since the first car, a Vauxhall Viva, rolled off the production line at Vauxhall's factory in Ellesmere Port. The plant has had its ups and downs since 1964, even questions over its survival at one point. But now it's on the up, having become last year the first UK factory to make only electric vehicles. Lindsay Prosser's been there today.
It was stylish, nippy and affordable. The Vauxhall Viva was one of the first cars to roll off the production line when Vauxhall's Ellesmere Port plant opened 60 years ago. And one of the men who worked on the Viva returned to see it today.
What was it like?
An unbelievable achievement to think that we were making cars actually in Ellesmere Port for the first time.
Have a sit in.
Keith Taberner was on the first production line, and despite its reputation for rust, he's still fond of the Vauxhall Viva.
For its age, it is beautiful. The wife used to say there was shouting engines and everything in my sleep, because we'd only just got married in the July, as I started in the Vauxhalls in the August.
So in your sleep, as a newlywed, you were shouting engines?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, certainly, yeah.
What have we done there? Missed that bit there. It must have been on his tea break.
Yeah.
It must have been, yeah.
But that is the engine that we done. 60 an hour, 1 a minute.
Keith's sons followed him into the Vauxhalls paint shop.
I've been here since I left school. I was on a YTS. And then the year after I got kept on, so I'm 40 years this year in October. It's just a new era, going away from petrol and diesel to the electric.
Vauxhall is now owned by Stellantis, and Ellesmere Port manufactures electric vans, with a passenger vehicle going into production in the autumn.
15 electric vans an hour are made here, and Stellantis say that these electric vehicles are the future of this plant.
I think we have a responsibility to go carbon neutral, and so we're looking at that both in the van we produce and in the way we produce it in the plant. We need to save the planet. It is a real issue, and we need to save that for our children and our grandchildren. So I think we just have to convince people that the electric vehicles are really good.
Well, it's not a bad job though, Dad. No.
Well, it's got a couple of runs in the paint, maybe I done them.
Well, I think you did, yeah.
The Taverner family have a combined service of 152 years at the Ellesmere Port plant, something they are proud of. Lindsay Prosser, BBC North West Tonight.
Quite right too. That first Vauxhall Viva, £429. If you wanted the deluxe version, it was £473. Right, let's turn on to football. Erik ten Hag is staying at Manchester United. A couple of weeks ago, it seemed certainly be on his way out. Richard Askham is at Old Trafford for us live tonight. So, Rich, why has the manager been given a reprieve?
Well, Roger, as you indicate there, when Manchester United finished 8th in the Premier League, their lowest ever finish, widespread reports that Erik ten Hag will be dismissed whether or not he won the FA Cup. That did seem extremely likely. We've since then had the end-of-season review. I think a lot has gone into the mix there. Perhaps the hierarchy were surprised by the level of support that Erik ten Hag still commands from large sections of the Manchester United fan base. And probably against the odds, he will be the manager here next season.
If Erik ten Hag goes on to become a great success at Manchester United, it may well be this that turned the tide. FA Cup glory, Derby Day delight, and for a manager still reported to be facing the chop, defiance.
If they don't want me anymore, I go anywhere else. I do my whole managing career. Winning games, winning trophies.
A risky strategy, but one that may have worked in his favour, with character and stomach for the fight as important in the Old Trafford hot seat as cast-iron coaching credentials. And many fans today gave the decision to keep him on the thumbs up.
Good, you can't keep getting new managers every year, can you? Not happy at all.
He needed to have another year at least, definitely.
There's no doubt Erik ten Hag's tenure has been mixed. Back-to-back trophies, followed by a sense of one step forwards and 2 steps back. Before, of course, that vital FA Cup triumph.
I've always wanted him to stay. He's delivered 2 trophies in 2 seasons. Maybe they've looked at it and thought, this is a manager who can handle the academy, can get results, who, if we work with him, we can get him the right transfers. It all kind of makes sense.
Erik ten Hag has had his backers and doubters amongst United's former players, with legendary midfielder Paul Scholes today treading the middle ground, saying on his Instagram page, "Major improvements needed, but at least we have a bit of continuity and don't have to wait for a new regime to settle in. Fans have given him and the players incredible support and deserve better."
And then you add in the fact that Manchester United have spoken to quite a few alternatives and none of them made a compelling argument.
How much of an issue going forwards do you think there is in terms of trust?
Trust is a long-term thing. Maybe it's been a bit shaken, but I don't think that will stop Ten Hag doing his job.
And with a crucial summer transfer window, both sides will now want to focus on building bridges and building for next season.
Will be interesting to see, won't it, how that trust plays out, though, particularly under the new structure here, with more football experts, if you like, under Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and fascinating to see the approach in the summer transfer window as well. From Old Trafford, Roger, back to you.
Thank you, Rich. Of course, football's European Championships begin in just over 48 hours, and over the years, some of the title sequences which have introduced the BBC's coverage have, perhaps, arguably, been more memorable than England's performances. The visual theme for Euro 2024 is a giant pinball machine, but the sound design has all been done by a Salford-based production company, and Ian Haslam has been to see them.
34 years ago, football fever gripped the nation.
There are only 3 countries left who could win the 1990 World Cup.
But while West Germany won the tournament, the BBC won the battle of the title sequences with a little help from Pavarotti's Nessun Dorma. Many more BBC football themes have followed, with these Salford-based sound designers helping create the latest for Euro 2024.
Welcome to Germany. This is the Euros, where anything can happen. Let the fun begin. Finds him again, John McGinn!
I think this took about 50 hours for the sound design, I would say. Because the art direction and the visuals are so important, we wanted to make sure the sound complemented that. And we wanted to do that with sound design. We wanted to make sure it felt immersive and like you were travelling through the machine. So this is the bottom end. And then we start to add in some plasticky sounds to make it feel more like a pinball machine. Some arcade noise, as if it's in like an 80s kind of video game. And then if we kind of get it all together, so many different layers of audio to feel, you know, big and powerful.
Here we go.
There you go.
Satisfying.
It's magnificent!
Previous tournament titles have focused more on music. This was Euro 96. While Mexico 86 was a banger.
They're iconic. You've seen how much work's gone into this one. I would vouch that the same level of work, if not more, goes into every single one which is done. Argentina in 78, I can still remember the dun 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 doo 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 doo.
How prestigious is it to be involved in something like this?
It's quite humbling. We did the Winter Olympics for BBC 2 years ago, which was BAFTA nominated, I have to say, which blew our minds. A lot of the time, a lot of this work's done in that London, and what we're trying to do is fly the flag for this great Northern Empire.
Music is not always the star of the show. It gets plenty of time to be that, but you, I think, will be remembering in the future 2024 was the pinball year for the Euros. You know, I think the theme will become the way that these things are remembered. And ultimately, as the sound people, whilst we all want to be the stars of the show, we're serving the film.
Ian Haslam, BBC North West Tonight, Salford.
More twists, more turns.
You wait for Euro 2024. Friday, 14th of June, across
There you go, it's on the way. Anticipation is building. Right, let's have a look at the weather. Here's Emmanuel.
Thank you, Roger. Good evening. So today we've really seen a mix, haven't we? We've seen some beautiful blue skies, but also cloudy conditions as well. But we barely struggled to get above 15 degrees Celsius, a stark contrast to where we were this day last year. You can see there we got up to 31 degrees Celsius in Morecambe, 29 degrees in parts of Rochdale. So what is going on? Well, for much of this week, we've been pulling in that slightly cooler air from the Arctic. And although today has been quite settled out there, we've seen quite a good deal of sunshine. This area of low pressure moves in, some weather fronts bringing unsettled conditions for the rest of this week. And crucially, if you're off to see Taylor Swift, if you're a Swiftie, this is what it means for you tomorrow until Saturday. I think Friday, probably the best day because we'll get some showers, but not as heavy as tomorrow or Friday, or Saturday rather. So what does this mean tonight then? The ridge of high pressure stays nearby. It will be dry out there. Cloudy for a time, clouds thicken even more as we head into the early hours. Temperatures down to lows of 3 to 6 degrees Celsius. And then tomorrow we'll start off dry. The clouds thicken once again because that area of low pressure moves in, and you can see the band of rain moving in, becoming a bit more unsettled as the day progresses. Wind gusts potentially up to 40 miles per hour. Temperatures up to highs of 15 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow night, that area of low pressure moves away, so the rain will be a bit more patchy. On Friday, I think we'll start off with a good deal of sunny spells, but cloudy with some showers at times, highs of 15 degrees. That's your weather.
Remember on Monday we were talking about Dave Day and Barrow at the weekend? Yep. Well, if you go to BBC iPlayer, you can find an extended 10 minutes with some amazing pictures from the day, remembering Hairy Biker Dave. It's really good. Thanks so much for watching. Have a lovely evening.